Hey everybody, welcome to the Real United States. And when we last left you, we were just tilling the garden, the Victory Garden, for the season. You remember I still had a jacket on, I was still quite cold. And well, I haven't made any video in that last couple of months, and well, a few people are starting to express some concern as to our welfare. And so I thought it was probably high time that we got back out here and made some video. We are incidentally doing just fine. Beverly obviously behind the camera right now, and I'm doing okay. I mean, I still have difficulty speaking, but I do the best I can. Anyway, so we're going to give you a quick couple of shots about the Victory Garden. Now, a lot of things have gotten built to go in the garden since we shot that last episode, and one of them is this 12-foot tall tower made out of wood that's to have buttercup squash growing on it. And as you can see, it's now the middle of July. It's the 14th, and it's up about 8 feet on a 12-foot tower. I don't know what happens when it gets to the top, but maybe it'll stop, maybe it'll come back down, who knows, who cares? The point is, this is so you can get more plant in a small area by going vertical. And we've done quite a bit of that this year, a lot more than we've ever done in the past, including this. So as you can see, you know, I mean, they're nice big leaves, the plants are healthy, they're blossoming. Some of these blossoms already are pollinated and they're starting to close up and dry off. We got some small fruits in here that are only about the size of a walnut, if that. So again, it's still fairly early in the season, certainly for these winter squashes. But I mean, it's doing lovely. And what we've done, you probably may not be able to see it, but there's a nylon mesh about 1/2 inch. It's actually deer netting we've stapled to the structure. So all the little tendrils, these little tendrils on the squash plants have something to grab a hold of and hold itself up. And that stuff is pretty tough, so it shouldn't have any trouble holding the weight of the squashes as they grow up. Anyway, that's just one of the many towers that you were going to see around here. And now we got some onions. The weeds are a bit of a struggle. Because we didn't plow the earth, we just tilled it. And because we don't use, any herbicides, it's been a constant struggle for us. And that's one of the reasons there hasn't been a lot of other videos, because most of our time is spent in the rather exhausting chore down on our hands and knees pulling out wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow after wheelbarrow weeds. So we tried this one piece of black cloth. It seems to be doing okay, although the deer came through and kind of tore it up. But anyway, the onions are doing relatively well. So now we're going to walk over here and we'll show you where the tomatoes, peppers, and some of the other things are. So this is one of our pepper plants. And yes, we put cages around our pepper plants. A couple of reasons. It sort of discourages the wildlife from bothering them quite so much. And because these peppers have historically gotten so big that sometimes the plants become a little ski-wobbly. So we have quite a variety of peppers in here. And honestly, I didn't do a good job about labeling which were which. So they might be red bell peppers, or they might be banana peppers, or whatever. There's no hot peppers. These are all some sort of mild pepper. And we got quite a few of them. This whole row, of course, is peppers. Sorry about the traffic noise. Big trucks hauling gravel this time of year. Anyway, so the next row over is our tomatoes. We have also a variety of tomatoes. Wasn't real concerned about, marking which plants were which. But you can see they're getting up about, nigh on to 3 feet tall already, and they're in blossom. Really nice blossoms on them. So we grew some Rutgers and some Tonopah. We got, I don't know what else, some Romas I think are in here. And I don't think we grew Maranzanos this year. We do have a mortgage lifter, which is a big, like a beefsteak kind of shaped tomato, but it's on the other side of the garden. I'll show you that in a little bit. But anyway, Tonopahs are up towards the front, and those are, that one in the front, you see that plant's doing very well. That's easily 3 foot tall. And then some of the peppers that aren't, you know, quite as old, they're a little bit shorter. If you're wondering about the crates, those are an attempt to protect certain plants from the rabbits. We've had quite a rabbit problem. So a few select plants have been protected. This row here, incidentally, this is a zucchini or yellow squash, I'm not sure which, that we put in late. And our earlier plants are already producing fruits, and we've been bringing in big bowls of zucchini and yellow squash. Those are a honey nut squash off in the back, which is a variety of butternut squash, but smaller, a little darker. They're real cute. Viv likes them very well. And then as we move up here, we've got some rather healthy butternut squash plants up here, and a few beans. Now the beans and beets have been the biggest problem with the rabbits. They seem to ignore most everything else, but they just really chew up the beans and the beets. I guess there's something about that. It just smells and tastes very good to a rabbit. Bev and I grow a lot of squashes. So we like winter squashes, summer squashes. So we have, you know, zucchini and yellow straight neck and yellow crook neck summer squashes. And then we have butternut and honey nut. And these are red Hubbards. They're much smaller than their namesake, the blue Hubbard. They're, you know, like basketball size or a little smaller. I think they're similar to, what is it, a kabocha squash? Anyway, they're a little red squash. And you can see they're growing very well in here. And we got some blossoms. These are very, very tasty. These are on a par. The butternut is my favorite squash for the winter squashes, but these are certainly very closely, nearly tied with those in terms of flavor. So we eat a lot of squash, and I forget what it was, but there's like 11 or 12 different carotenoids in squashes, not just alpha carotene and beta carotene, but there's like, I think 11 or 12. And they're very, very healthy for you. You know, when you think vegetables, you usually think green, but the fact of the matter is that a lot of the stuff we grow ain't green. We eat a lot of squash and pumpkin, which is on the far side of the garden. Now, one of the things I want to show you that we're working on, and I know this is awfully late in the season for these to be so small, but we're growing cucumbers. So these little beggars right here are cucumbers. And we planted them really late in the year, all right? But they seem to be doing okay. And it's only about 60 to 70 days on a cucumber. So I think we have more than sufficient time to get a good yield on these before the frost comes here in Michigan. And what Bev and I have done is built a trellis, basically a tunnel, out of 3 cattle panels, so it's 12 feet long, a little over, because these are 50 inches wide, 4'2". And we've arched them over and zip tied them to some 4-foot posts that are driven a foot in the ground. So as these viney plants come up, we should have this nice cucumber tunnel with the cucumbers hanging inside, where we can just walk inside. Hopefully I'm going to have a great update video, you know, in late September, where we can come in and just pick cucumbers from the inside. That's the plan. Would it have been nice if they got it going a month earlier? Sure, but you know, there's only so many hours in the day and there's only so much energy. So we've done what we can for this year. You got to realize this is the first year we've been back in our home in 5 years. We were in Washington, D.C., where I was working, and so this all became overgrown and overrun. We've been working our butts off to try and knock it back and get our garden going and get back in the swing of things. So next year will be better. Okay, we're going to move on over here. There's not a lot going on over here yet. You know, we got some volunteer turnips, and there's a few beans. Off in the distance there, you're going to see there's some pumpkins. We'll give you a close-up on those in just a moment. Those are volunteers because we compost our kitchen scraps, and so some of the seeds germinated. But here we have yet another trellis for cucumbers, and these seem to be growing just a little faster than the ones by the tunnel. And this is another tower that I built. This is built out of much lighter lumber. Instead of 2x4s, it's built out of 1x2s. And I have that same deer netting mesh on the outside for the cucumbers to get a hold of. Now these little guys right here, you know, they're doing pretty good. They're nice and healthy. They're small still. We got a couple in the back that were planted earlier. And they are, in fact, starting to blossom. And this one, at least two here, we got this one, is getting a hold of the mesh so it can start climbing up the tower to produce cucumbers as it goes up. I don't know if you can really see it, but on top, I've actually installed a light fixture with a blue LED light bulb in it. It was actually kind of a joke because one of my friends from Washington, D.C. said that, you know, my towers, I needed some sort of warning light. So I installed one. I thought it was kind of cute. And it does seem to kind of deter the deer when I have that blue light on at night. It seems to slow them down. I don't know if that's true or not, but it seems to. Now, I had mentioned that we had a mortgage lifter tomato, and here's another one of my home-designed, home-built towers. That's my tomato basket, if you will, for this particular tomato. And you can see it's already, this is 4 foot, and he's almost to the top. These are an indeterminate variety of tomato, meaning determinate tomatoes have a certain height they grow to, and that's it. They're very consistent. Indeterminate will grow a lot taller. The mortgage lifter will grow up to 9 feet tall. So what I've got here is I've got 4 foot of tower, 4 foot of chicken wire, and this mast is made out of pipe, goes up 5 foot, so that on the outside chance that he does go all the way to 9 foot, I could tie it off or something to the top. We'll get my ladder out here. But anyway, that's the mortgage lifter. We do have a nice little tomato, right, which I'm reluctant to touch because this is kind of like Beverly's baby. So, but if you can get in there and see, we do have a nice tomato forming inside of here, which is, you know, it makes you feel good to have one that's relatively early in the season. And of course, Bev and I do a lot of canning and preserving, both, you know, we freeze and can tomatoes. I don't usually sun dry any, but we do preserve a lot of tomatoes because we use them. I make my own sauces, of course, for, well, everything, pizza sauce and pasta sauce and those sorts of things. Now, before we go over to the other side of the garden, see, I've got this is the west garden we've been touring, and then there's the east garden. I'm going to show you this pumpkin, which is, again, these are volunteers. This is from, we were cleaning out pumpkins last fall, throwing the seeds on the garden, and they came up. So we got this one nice pumpkin here that's, easily as big as my fist, which is, pretty nice for mid-July. So I'm pleased with that. It's been terribly, terribly dry. So we've got these Rainbird sprinklers that we run quite frequently to keep these, enough water on them to keep them going, because, you got pumpkins and squashes are big fruits. They need a lot of water to develop. All right, let's go over to the east garden. And you see I have two more towers. Now, if you happen to see me pulling up my pants a lot, the reason is, since the middle of March, which is, 4 months ago, I've lost 10 pounds. Now, that's largely due to the amount of physical activity that Beverly and I have been getting, and she's also lost 5 pounds, and it's because we're getting a lot more physical activity than we have in the last 5 years. So it's a good thing on many levels. Anyway, these are our obelisk towers that I built. They're 8 foot tall, and I painted these a little differently. This is the barn paint. It's a little more subdued than the bright red that I had on the other towers, but it's nice. I thought these were more buttercups like on the big yellow tower, but it seems like I may have made a mistake. I'm not quite certain what variety these are. They're either more of the red Hubbards or the butternut. But we're getting some nice fruits on here. You can see the squash down in there. He's doing good, developing. So I guess we'll all find out exactly what he is come October. Maybe September, I'll be able to tell by then. So, and then off in the distance here behind, we've got our zucchini and our yellow squash. Now, if you follow us on social media, on Facebook, you may have seen some of the pictures, and I'll post some more on our page associated with the Real United States, but we're getting really healthy plants. These are the zucchini, and then in the back are the yellow squash, crooknecks and straight necks further up the row. And this whole row, which is I don't know what's this row, 50, 60 feet, is all zucchini. And you can see here's an example, one that's pretty big. That thing's about a foot long. I'll probably harvest that tomorrow. We harvested yellow squash today, and I can only eat so many, freeze so many. I gotta, again, so many hours in the day. Okay, as I come around the other side of the yellow squash, I have a rather abundant row of turnips. This was old seed. We didn't think it was going to germinate, but we put a row in, went, we'll see what happens. And instead of not germinating, it seems like we had almost 100% germination, so they came in way thicker than we wanted. But we've been thinning them out and eating the turnips and packaging the greens and freezing them. So I blanch them, shock them, freeze them. They're doing pretty good. We've had a few, pretty good sized ones, about the size of a baseball maybe. So they're doing very well. On the other side, what I skipped over, and we'll get to another row of them, is rutabaga. Now that's a crop that you don't really harvest until the frost. You just let those keep growing as long as they will. Cruciferous vegetable, very, very closely related to cabbage, but it's a root ball very much like a turnip. And now that I think about it, turnips, I believe, are cruciferous vegetables as well. Anyway, these are our cabbages. These are a regular head cabbage. Not a lot of them. We just have a few. They didn't seem to germinate as well as we'd hoped, but we have a few. But on the other end, we have in that lighter green, that is Napa cabbage, the Chinese cabbage, and it seems to be doing very well, which is great because I use that for a lot of things. When I make summer rolls, spring rolls, those sorts of things, I also use that and this cabbage when I make stock. I add whatever meat I'm using, like chicken stock. I use chicken parts, and then mirepoix, and then I will also add some cabbage. It gives it a nice vegetative kind of body to it. Okay, now before you start jumping for the comment bar because you want to chew my butt about how badly the weeds are in this particular row, they are there for a reason. Okay, this is peas, and peas have tendrils like the squash that grab a hold of everything, and if you start pulling those weeds, you can pull those plants out very easily. But on top of that, I'm trying to kind of camouflage them. I'm trying to protect them from the wildlife and to give them something to support the plant without having to put a whole bunch of little stakes or wires or stuff in there. So those weeds are there semi-deliberately, okay? I didn't want to screw with it. They seem to be blooming. They're doing fine. So this row has been let grow over on purpose. So please do not jump all over me in the comments because why didn't you weed that one row? Because I didn't want to. I think this is beets.
Yeah, that's the beet row.
That's the beet row right there. Boy, that's another one of those things. Beans and beets are something the rabbits just it's maddening.
The rabbits and the deer.
Yeah, and the deer. So we're doing what we can. We're going to make different arrangements next year. We've already been working on plans and designs and ways to protect them from the wildlife for next year. But for now, this is what beets we have. Another row of onions back here. And then this is the other row of rutabaga. Now, to tell you how bad the weed problem always is, because again, we don't use herbicides, is there was a lot of weeds in here, and we tilled down both sides and came in and pulled the weeds and went, hey, what the heck? Those are rutabaga. So we discovered a lost row of rutabaga in the middle of our garden. And off in the distance, the rest of this garden, with the exception of a little patch of corn in the distance there, I don't know if you can catch that, Bev?
Yeah, I got it.
There is a single package of sweet corn. Again, that we let the grass grow around to protect it from the deer, because deer do like corn. But all the rest of this is squash. Is butternut squash, to be exact. This is all butternut squash except the very furthest row out there to the extreme east. That is pumpkin. It's partially regular, good old orange pumpkin, and then some white pumpkins. These two rows right here, if you can zoom in a little bit, Bev, you'll see they're hipped. All right, they're raised. Those are hipped rows. Those are going to be carrots. We planted some kaleidoscope carrots. It was late in the season. Seeds were on sale very, very inexpensively. They had seed tapes of kaleidoscope or rainbow carrots, and so we bought one and put in these two short rows of kaleidoscope carrots, because we thought it would be fun. Not everything is about making sure your tummy's full. Some of it's just about doing stuff because it's fun to see it grow. So this is one of our two tall agricultural rainbird sprinklers. I got one here, I got one in the other garden. I got a short one also that's in the back for the red Hubbards. And we've had to run those extensively this year because we're just not getting the rain. But apparently they're doing their job because, well, everything seems to be pretty lush. Anyway, that's largely it for right now. There's probably some other highlights that I could show you, but I'm not going to at the moment. I think that's enough. And around the periphery and some of this brush you see there are some black raspberries. Beverly and I harvested black raspberries a couple of times now. We made one batch of jam successfully, came up with 8 half-pint jars of jam. We still got another 6 or 7 cups of fruit ready to be put into, to something, either a syrup or more jam, whatever. So we are getting some harvest in already. Anyway, I wanted to just bring you out and show you what we've been doing and give you an update on the garden, on the Victory Garden, because Victory Gardens have become very popular. A lot of people have been concerned about food security. Beverly and I always maintain a pantry, always have for decades. It's the way we were raised, and of course we have a freezer, and we do canning, so it's just, you always got food. It's not really a huge concern, but apparently a lot of people have felt some concern because of the recent pandemic, and Victory Gardens, or the rebirth of the Victory Garden, has become a thing. And so I've kind of tongue-in-cheek been calling this the Victory Garden, but this is really the same size garden that we have planted in years past when we were living at home. So it's not like, oh my God, Paul went nuts and grew 11,000 square feet. No, that's what we have put in a year. This is exactly the same footprint in the same place that we've had in years past when we've had the garden. So it's nothing new for us, folks. Anyway, that's more or less it. Lots of blossoms and stuff. As fruits start to develop, we'll come out, we'll make another video, give you an update. We're not getting out on the road right now because of the pandemic, and you try to restrict your travel, you try to restrict your interaction. It is what it is. And so there's not, a lot of the videos that you're used to seeing from us about, places and things and events and whatnot, because we're just not going. And I could make video more often, but probably watching 2 old people down on their knees pull weeds for 8 hours is just not that exciting. Anyway, folks, I do appreciate your concern, and thanks for tuning in for this one. If you're new here, well, welcome to our channel. I hope you've enjoyed this, found it interesting, and I hope you'll consider picking subscribe to come along for the adventure, because we got lots more to show you. And as always, folks, well, thank you for watching.